Olsen transferring in from Villanova, averaging almost 18 points per game, 5 assists. And then Beers, we've seen what she can do on the interior. She shoots 65% on the season.
All right, let's go. The March Madness continues in Norman. Winner to the Sweet 16. And it's Lucy Olsen who puts the first shot up on this side of the floor for Iowa. They're in those road black uniforms, Oklahoma in the white, and the Sooners love to run and get out in transition. This is their starting 5, brought to you by Capital One. So Beers does lead the way, averages about 18 a game. Sahara Williams is their very talented sophomore who has started every game of her career and has got the first bucket.
And that was a very patient possession for Oklahoma. They're typically a team that wants to get it up within a couple seconds of the shot clock, but they come up with the 2 points.
Meanwhile, on the other end, Hannah Stolke misfires at the rim. Sydney Falter's triple is offline. Falter has been dialed in from distance. The second half of this season, Oklahoma gives it away, and then a foul on the Sooners.
And I think that play right there is going to be a big key for Iowa to win this game, to be disruptive on the defensive end. They've been really good in half-court defense, and Oklahoma, as good and as veteran-led they are, offensively, they're very turnover-prone. They average about 19 turnovers per game.
Yeah, that is bottom 50 in the nation, just too many, and Jenny Baranczyk, the head coach, knows they've got to cut that number down. Olsen with the first basket for Iowa. Meanwhile, the senior Kylie Feuerbach jumps the passing lane. Lead feed knocked loose. Feuerbach has it.
She missed McCabe. If she had hit McCabe a second early, that may have been an open 3.
Feuerbach a corner 3.
They get it anyway. Feuerbach has really emerged as a 3-point threat more than usual in the last couple of games.
Hit 2 days ago in the first round battle. Williams follows her own miss. Not many bodies to deal with after the missed shot. She's got 4.
Yeah, Williams is high energy, just a sophomore. Coach Baranczyk calls her one of their 2 best leaders for such a young player.
Olsen chucks it up from a step behind the 3-point line. And she's got that range, a step or 2 perhaps beyond the arc. Skylar Vans straight on 3, can't hit it. And ball back to Iowa. So Jenny Baranczyk, 4th season now as the head coach at Oklahoma. She has rejuvenated the program, 4 straight 20-win seasons. And playing against her alma mater once again for the first time as an OU head coach.
Yeah, a lot of intertwinings here. And how about that bomber jacket? Ooh, another bomb for Kylie Feuerbach.
Hey-oh, that's 2 now. So Feuerbach has connected twice from distance. And that is a 3rd Oklahoma turnover in the first 2.5 minutes.
We're talking bomber jackets. Jan is bringing that black leather. Okay, coaches.
First-year head coach. You saw 25 years with the program. She was Lisa Bluter's top assistant for more than 2 decades. And she has maintained the level of excellence for this program in her first season, after Iowa was on the mountaintop of the sport with Caitlin Clark, as we all know, consecutive national title games. And here they are once again in position to advance to the second weekend of this tournament. OU's having some trouble on this end of the floor in the early minutes. Olsen's got a little bounce. This is Stolke cutting, got it.
This is an Iowa team that can really push pace from 1 to 5. This lineup can get up and down the floor, and it was Stolke trailing the play, and now she draws a foul on Reagan Beers on the other end. And here's Lucy Olsen staying patient. These 2 connected a ton in the first round. And Hannah Stolke, they just kind of forgot about her. And then just on the other end, Kevin, she's able to get a little tangle with Reagan Beers and get the first foul on the 6'4" All-American.
And so Beers sits down. You mentioned it's going to be a jigsaw puzzle for Iowa today to face the All-American. They are very much in control here in the early minutes, Iowa is. 4 of 9 from the floor. They've turned Oklahoma over a handful of times as well.
Yeah, they're controlling and dictating on both ends right now.
Olsen, the banker, got it back. Knocked loose. This is Lexi Keys, the 6th player off the bench. Quality shooter. We mentioned how Beers has been so impactful. You just saw Peyton Verhulst. That's their playmaking point guard fight, Skylar Van. Number 12 in the white is a big-time scorer for the Sooners as well. Falter with the jab step. Back to Olsen, who's very crafty with the ball. Flick it to Feuerbach. Feuerbach trying to take Keys off the bounce. It's an offensive foul, though, and it may go against Stolke. It might count the basket king, and then the foul's going to be on Stolke.
Let's take a look here.
In for the Hawkeyes, number 5.
Just kind of a strange play because there could have been a block charge call on the drive. I think they did call it on.
Pardon me. Yeah, so they wave off the basket. That was an offensive foul.
That's a big momentum swinger for Oklahoma because Feuerbach had been off to a hot start.
Verhulst with the backdoor cut, defended by Hayden, who's got great length. Hayden rejects Van. Shot clock resets to 20 here. Chuck it to Zaya Van, little sister, puts up the three and misses everything.
And now we're seeing an interesting lineup for Iowa. This big lineup, as Jan Jensen calls it, with Ava Hayden, the sensational freshman in the post, and Hannah Stolke. Both of those two, they haven't played many minutes together all season long, but Coach Jensen knew with this bigger Oklahoma team, she's going to have to go to it.
Oh, Van takes it away from Stolke. Zaya Van, little spin all the way to the rack.
Really nice defensive activity for the younger Van, the freshman, getting her hands on the ball, taking it all the way back for two.
Now Olsen dials up the three. It was on line, but she left it short. Liz Scott is out onto the floor. It's their very reliable post player who controls it. Oklahoma, very prolific offense. Liz Scott nails it. So they can score with the best of them, the Sooners can.
Yeah, they've settled in, and for Iowa, key is forcing Oklahoma to take down that shot clock a little bit, which they've been doing, but now they're staying more composed as they take it down, looking for high percentage looks.
That's a difficult pass. It goes over Hayden's head and out of bounds. So after Iowa took the 10-4 lead, a couple of baskets for OU has tightened this thing up. The Hawkeyes, though, they did strike first.
Yeah, we are expecting this one to be tight throughout, but a little separation early from Kylie Feuerbach, draining 2 triples.
Whole lot of Iowa in the house, not just the Hawkeyes. The Iowa connections, they are abound. Great throwback photos, by the way. Jensen, you see the head coach there in her first season on the left. Kimballton, Iowa native, grew up in rural western portion of the state. Jenny, meanwhile, on the other side, former Hawkeye great, grew up outside of Des Moines.
They both had a lot of game. Did you know Jan Jensen, as a senior, actually led the nation in scoring, 29.6 points per game? And then, Kevin, how about yesterday in practice? Jenny Baranchek was running with the scout team for the full practice. She's still got it.
Postseason runs, they have begun for both of these programs. Two coaches that have a great deal of respect for one another. Friendly for so many years. Jan Jensen said, I was at Jenny's wedding way back in the day. Her former position coach at Iowa. Zaya Van, meanwhile, the freshman for these Sooners, has got a couple of early baskets, and we're knotted up at 10. That's a quick 6-0 burst now for the Sooners. Wild pass. That's consecutive turnovers. Verhulst on the move, the feed. This is Williams. Great position.
And that's why it's important for Oklahoma to get stops on this end, because they want to rebound and run and play at that blistering pace. They lead the country in possessions per game.
They tried the pocket pass. Liz Scott, you couldn't get it by her. Swipes it away. Cross-court feed to Keys. Van didn't have enough space to pull the trigger. Scott hits it.
Impressive stretch for Oklahoma, who again has really done this all without their center. Reagan Beers picked up a quick foul, and she's been on the bench for the last few minutes.
Iowa now having trouble taking care of the basketball. Just too many giveaways on this side. Deeper in the first quarter. That's a foul on Verhulst, her first.
This Oklahoma team, top 5 in the country in scoring, #1 in pace of play, and this is what they wanted to do. Get the ball, get out and run. Verhulst, tremendous assister. And then Liz Scott says, nobody's gonna pick me up. I'll take that shot.
Just did a little Jordan shrug after that one. Why not? Now, it's not as if Iowa plays at a snail's pace either. Again, these are 2 high-scoring teams. Scott got a piece of that one, but fouls Stolke. And Hannah Stolke, the junior from Cedar Rapids, is at the line in a moment.
First personal, team number 4.
So what's at stake today, Kim? Iowa has been, of course, at the mountaintop of the sport for so many years now. If it advances, it would be the 5th trip to the Sweet 16 in the last 6 tournaments. That's quite a nice run. Meanwhile, on the other side, Oklahoma, it's been a minute since they advanced out of the first weekend. And so can they shake off the bad luck and get back to the Sweet 16 for the first time in more than a decade?
Yeah, this is Coach Bronczek's 4th season. They've made the tournament in each of these 4 years, but they have yet to advance past this round.
Van?
Under her.
Yeah, could not hit it on the turnaround. It's been more than a decade of first-round exits, or I should say first weekend exits for the program. Good news is they're the 3 seed, and they host this second-round battle. Shout out to the Hawkeye fans. They have made the trip in full force, though. Less than 2 minutes in the first. Shot clock draining. This is a falter. A falter hounded by Williams. This has been a very productive first quarter for Williams and Scott underneath.
Yeah, the defensive intensity has really picked up for Oklahoma, but they turn it over right away.
So the winner, by the way, if it does advance, would face either UConn or South Dakota State. Kansas State survived a last-second shot at the horn yesterday to Kentucky in overtime. So that is our portion of the bracket, the Spokane 4 regional. UConn, very heavy favorites later today.
Yeah, UConn just has 3 players right now playing at All-American levels, and Beckers, Fudd, and Strong, as we get another whistle here. And Kevin, let's keep in mind, just like the teams, the officials are being evaluated, hoping to advance in this tournament as well. So we've seen a tight whistle in all of our games at this site so far, as well as games across the country.
Yeah, we've had 5 whistles, by the way, in this first quarter. There is another. The one on Iowa a moment ago was on Olsen, her first. And so this is Hannah Stolke's first personal foul.
Both coaches have been sharing some words with the official. Jenny Bronczek was coming out of that last whistle.
The veterans here taking over for Oklahoma. Skylar Van ignited on Saturday, went for 24, a season high in their first round win over Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah, she really got her confidence back. In the 4 games before that, she had a total of 16. So she had 24 in that last game, and another Iowa turnover. That part of the game has really flipped. It was Oklahoma early that had some careless turnovers, and now they've been able to turn over Iowa. That was the 8th of this first quarter.
They say McCabe took some steps. That's 8 turnovers just in the last 6 minutes alone. That is way too many. And Oklahoma has converted. Beatrice Culleton rolling and scoring.
So even without Reagan Beers in the game right now, Oklahoma is getting a ton of paint production. That's their 14th point in the paint out of the 18.
The depth of this Sooners team has been impressive. And they regularly will play 10, sometimes 11. Aaliyah Guyton off the bench. Capable outside shooter. Takes a couple of dribbles in. Could not hit the leaner. So Oklahoma with all the momentum now. 7-point cushion. Less than 10 to play in the first. This is the rookie Van. Looking for his big sister. Dump it down to Skylar Williams. Score it. And Oklahoma ends the first quarter on a 16-1 run. OU with the lead on the big stage in Norman. Let's check out how Iowa and Oklahoma were fueling the run, brought to you by Wendy's. So in their first round games on Saturday, records were rewritten. Iowa 28 dimes, and then win against Murray State scored 92 points. That's a program tournament record for Iowa. Meanwhile, Jenny Baranchik's team, 72 total rebounds, Kim. That's an NCAA tournament record overall.
Yeah, and so far her team is controlling several areas of this game. They are up 16-4 points in the paint, and they have 6 assists, make it 7 assists on 11 field goals. Reagan Beers back in the game, played just 3 minutes in the first quarter after picking up an early first foul.
You want to know what's scary? Yeah, that's Beers' first basket. And Oklahoma has this pretty sizable advantage now. They are doubling up the Hawkeyes. That's the second foul on Skylar Vance. So there goes the program vet, heart and soul there. You can see the leadership. A couple of words from teammates. So we'll sit down, you would think, for the rest of the half here with the 2 whistles.
And that's the beauty of this Sooners team. Even without Beers, they were able to go on that 16-1 run. And let's see what they do now with Van heading to the bench.
And Beers is going to get credit for a block there. She had a couple on Saturday in the big win against Florida Gulf Coast. Oklahoma much sharper offensively than on Saturday against the 14 seed. These are really high percentage looks. Verhulst could not finish it.
And Iowa switching to a zone look there. We saw a couple of possessions of it in the first quarter, just trying to really pack things in, but Beers still got a pretty good look at it, just didn't drop.
Iowa needs an answer. They're on the wrong end of an 18-1 run, and Olsen cashes in her second basket. That's a senior from Pennsylvania, prolific scorer, a terrific acquisition in the portal this offseason for the Hawkeyes. Verhulst left that one short. Olsen on the pull-up, offline. And again, look how quickly Oklahoma wants to push it into the front court. Raina Scott floats it. That one was short.
And now you see Iowa looking to get that pace going a little bit. Lucy Olsen can look ahead so well. She has to stay aggressive in this game. She's a really tough one-on-one matchup.
A Falter for 3. That's a brick. Now Falter was one of the best three-point shooters in the Big Ten this season. Has missed her first 2. Scott with the response on this side, not that time. So Oklahoma is yet to hit from distance. As you've mentioned, basically everything at or near the rim or just 15 feet and in.
And that's why Iowa has shifted to that zone to force them to push the offense out a little bit.
This is Stolke having trouble with Beers, but that's the second on the All-American. And so Reagan Beers, we think very likely to hit the bench here. Stolke's going to the line for a pair. Let's just remind you, for a 5th straight season, every NCAA Women's Championship game is on the networks of ESPN. For more info, go to ncaa.com. Round 2 finishes up today. Got some great matchups later. 2 prolific scorers in that LSU-Florida State game coming up after this one. And then you get UConn at 8 Eastern, Juju Watkins and the Trojans at 10. What are you noticing here early in the second?
Well, now Oklahoma's 2 top scorers who combined for 49 points in the first round, Skylar Van and Reagan Beers, now on the bench with 2 fouls with a significant amount of time here left in the second quarter.
Ava Hayden, who's got a little bit of a length advantage, got tied up by Verhulst. This is Liz Scott. Over to Williams, who had an 8-point first quarter. Extra pass, Scott offline.
So the zone defense from Iowa has been effective.
Look at Raina Scott, puts it up, missed it. Working hard, got it back. And they're gonna get a 3rd opportunity here. The shot clock resets to 20. Keys could not get it. Another look. Oklahoma relentless on the boards. Keys, short. So there is that effort on the glass for this Oklahoma team. Fearbox layup, no good.
We've talked about Oklahoma being a top 5 scoring team. They lead the country in pace, but they are also second in the country in rebounding margin at a +12. And what just happened there, I think they got 3 or 4 offensive rebounds on 1 possession. That cannot happen for Iowa. Already 8 offensive rebounds for the Sooners.
All that work, you come away with nothing. And you just saw Jensen a moment ago calming everybody down. Williams wants 3, got it.
How about the start for Sahara Williams, who had just 3 points in the win against Florida Gulf Coast the other day. She was 1 of 7. She already has 8 points.
Feuerbach can't answer. Well, with the 3, she's now at a double figure, so now 11 for the sophomore from Iowa. Keys, that's an open look. Oklahoma still cold from distance. Look at Williams, relentless on the glass there. With 6:08 to go here in the second, Oklahoma maintains the double-digit lead. And there are the 2 veterans. Incredible production in the victory against Florida Gulf Coast, particularly late in that game. Beers got going to put away the Eagles.
Yeah, they both had really big fourth quarters and just put the team on their backs. And right now in a tough spot for Oklahoma, both of those 2 forced to probably watch the rest. But look at the encouragement from Skylar Vann, who Jenny Bronczyk has really praised both of them in how they operate, how they lead this team, and how this team really all cares for one another.
What put OU back into the upper echelon of the sport was bringing back all those veterans like Vann and then adding the All-American Beers. Olsen, cash money. That's a corner 3. And so Olsen now with 7.
Yeah, she's a 3-level scorer. She can hit it from anywhere. She's really good off the bounce, but her 3-point shot has been improved.
Well, Iowa has got to clean that up. Williams is on a rampage right now.
So Iowa's in a zone, which makes it more difficult to rebound because you're not matched up with somebody one-on-one. There has to be a focus to locate somebody when the shot goes up, especially against this incredible rebounding team.
A falter, drop it off to Addison O'Grady. That's the first basket for the senior from Denver. Oklahoma quickly pushes. One of the highest scoring offenses in the nation. OU averages 85 points a game. They were right about at that. 81 in the win against the Eagles the other day. That's too easy for Liz Scott.
Oklahoma loves the high-low looks. They typically do it when Beers is in the game, but it has still been effective even while she's not out there. Williams into Scott.
Scott fired up on the defensive side now. Pushing O'Grady out. Olsen looking to create. Olsen in attack mode, the step back, that's pure. So Olsen with 9.
Yeah, she's gonna have to stay aggressive. She can get her own shot. We've seen her knock a triple down, now the pull-up.
Iowa still in the zone. Vann beats it. Timeout, Iowa. Oklahoma maintains the double-digit lead at home.
2 big-time scores on the bench for Oklahoma. No problem for these incredibly deep Sooners. Sahara Williams already up to 13 points. How about the dime here, attacking the zone, extra pass. Liz Scott on the finish. Sooners on 1.
Kelsey, thank you. Exciting day 2 of this round of 32. Yeah, there is Sahara Williams, the sophomore from Waterloo, Iowa. You know, we're talking to both coaches. Look at the difference from round 1 to round 2. She's off to a great start. We talked to both coaches. She's very familiar with a lot of these Iowa players. Played AAU ball with Stolke, and the Waterloo native a couple years ago. Big-time 5-star recruit decided she's going to come play in Norman.
Yeah, and Coach Bronczyk told us the other day, I've never seen so much growth in a player between their freshman and sophomore seasons, not just off the court, or not just on the court, but off the court as well. And she's a great leader, and she's off to a great start.
That was a foul on Culleton, and we'll take another quick timeout. 3:56 to go, second quarter, round of 32. Cam, the sophomore Sahara Williams for OU pouring it in the first half.
Yeah, hard to believe she's a sophomore with the physicality, the toughness she is playing with. She already has 13 points in this game on an efficient 6 of 9 shooting, just outworking players right now. Getting position, a little bit undersized in the post, but She's scoring from everywhere on the floor. She also has 6 rebounds, 3 assists. She has a blocked shot. I mean, night and day in terms of her performance, from just 1 made field goal in the first round to leading all scorers in this game with 13 points, and we're still in the first half.
You know, and she's so versatile as just a second-year player. So she struggles shooting and yet pulls down 10 boards, dished out 5 assists. She has started, Kim, every game of her 2-year career in Oklahoma. This was a former McDonald's All-American. It was a big-time get, one of the many premier either high school players or transfers that Jenny Baranczyk and her staff have been able to bring to Norman during their 4 years here. So winner of this one will advance to the Sweet 16. Who is going to move on next? The bracket continues to get filled out here, the rest of our Sweet 16. Again, it's been fairly chalky. The biggest win we've seen is by 3 seed lines. That's it. We saw 10 over a 7. Will we get a 6 over a 3 today? We'll see.
The
Kansas State, by the
way,
the 5
surviving. Seeds had a big day yesterday.
Yeah.
3 of them moving on. Ole Miss. Who's the third one I'm forgetting from yesterday?
Well, Ole Miss, Kansas State. Yep.
But another 5 seed moved on the home floor of the 4 seed yesterday.
Well, this is an SEC Big Ten clash. And so the 2 conferences that got the most teams in this tournament field, who will advance? Who's going to get the upper hand? The SEC has had a good second round.
It just came to me. Speaking of SEC, it was Tennessee. Tennessee over Ohio State. 3 5 seeds advanced yesterday.
Oklahoma has shot 41% from the floor, much better than a couple of days ago. Verhulst, a little hesitation on the baseline. That's her first bucket.
Yeah, she's got a package of skills. She sold that fake, spun back the other way, up and under. Ooh, Olsen.
Boy, they could have gotten Van maybe for jumping into the shooting space, but instead Olsen into double figures now. 15th straight game for this all-conference playmaker, who is one of the better scorers in the Big Ten this year.
And now Iowa has switched back to a woman-to-woman defense after really getting eaten up in that zone.
Van in attack mode, score it, and the foul. The rookie going to the free throw line, having a big-time day.
Attack mode is the perfect verbiage to use. It doesn't matter if it's been man-to-man, zone. These Sooners are keeping their foot on the gas. That was Verhulst. This is pretty. Woo, little half spin fake, up and under, switches hands. That's a skill set. And then Zaya Van, the freshman, just a straight line attack, taking the contact as well.
This freshman from just north of Oklahoma City, who gets to play 1 season with her big sister Skylar, who is on the bench with a couple of fouls, is playing her best basketball down the stretch of this season. Right now, postseason, crunch time, Oklahoma, it largely has played its best basketball the last month. That pass just bounces away from Stolke. She had position there on Verhulst, but they couldn't quite get the connection. Jensen trying to keep her team level. They're staggering right now with 11 turnovers in this first half. Down 12, Verhulst open, left it short. Williams fights for it. Williams draws the foul. And it is a battle underneath right now, and it is favoring Oklahoma.
Yeah, they've just been the more aggressive team, the more physical team. They're asserting themselves on the defensive end. Iowa, as a team, averages about 16 turnovers per game on the season. They already have 11, and then look at those offensive rebounding numbers. Oklahoma is really just controlling most aspects, maybe all aspects of this game.
That was the second foul, Kim, on Lucy Olsen. And so Olsen, we just saw take a seat.
And she's really been the only one generating offense as of late. So with her on the bench, somebody needs to really step up. It was Feuerbach early. She's gone quiet. A Falter has been quiet. Someone needs to figure out how to get some points in this game. It starts with taking care of the ball.
There's a few freshmen on the floor now for these Hawkeyes. Iowa was very efficient in the first half in their win against Murray State the other day. Today, a little different story. Stolke just having a hard time converting underneath. This has been good post defense as well from Oklahoma.
Yeah, what's different about the Murray State game versus Oklahoma is the tremendous size that Oklahoma presents, even with Reagan Beers and Skylar Van on the bench. They've got size and strength at most positions.
Ball movement has been crisp. Good motion away from the ball for OU. Liz Scott off one leg. That was a difficult one. Verhulst puts it back up. The freshman can't follow. It's another look. Liz Scott crashing the glass. OU is relentless right now with a significant offensive glass advantage.
I mean, plays like this are just having more heart, wanting it more. This is 3 offensive rebounds on 1 possession for Oklahoma. Let's take a look at those numbers. They are plus 12 already in the game and 13 offensive rebounds compared to just 3 for Iowa. Coach Jan Jensen going to put Ava Hayden in to bring a little more height and try to see if anyone's willing to get a rebound.
Nice moment here for Liz Scott, senior from Houston. Remember, she missed all of last year with that injury. One last go around here for this veteran who's been a dependable program vet for a long time. She continues to produce in this first half. Kim, back to your point, Oklahoma, one of the best rebounding teams in America. Only UCLA, greater rebounding margin in the nation this year. So we expected that advantage. Is it still surprising, though, how much they've dominated? Look at Hayden, by the way, rolling. Oh, Williams, get that out of here. Now she's running the floor. Williams with a crossover, kicks to Scott. She's reposted, she's calling for it. Instead, it's Verhulst offline over the backboard.
To go back to your question, what surprised me is that Iowa has not adjusted to boxing out. There's been multiple possessions where Oklahoma has had multiple offensive rebounds, and we've been talking all afternoon about Sahara Williams, what she's done. She's filling up the stat sheet, and that is multiple blocks for her now, in addition to scoring, assisting, rebounding. Complete game so far for the young sophomore.
A little something extra against her home state team. Again, Reagan Beers has only played, what, 5-6 minutes in this first half. That's it. OU has been on a rampage. Screen and roll. There's a takeaway. Williams read the pass. Lead feed to Keys. This is Van, puts it up. Little strong. And Guyton controls it. About 35 seconds here, and maybe a 7-second differential between shot and game clock.
The OU football team is in attendance. They may be looking at Sahara Williams, the way she is intercepting these passes. They might be trying to make her a dual sport athlete.
It's a football score. OU by 2 touchdowns. Late in the first, trip to the Sweet 16, up for grabs this afternoon in Norman. Guyton lines it up. Guyton could not get it, and that's a loose ball foul on Verhulst. So I got some words here for Natasha Cammey, but instead it will give Iowa one last look, you would think, with 8.5 to go. That was the second on Verhulst.
And Lucy Olsen back in the game. They like to go to her a lot. Look for her to get it back here, even though she is the inbounder. She's really good at coming off of screens.
8.5 on the timer. Stremlow right back to Olsen, lets it fly. That's good. A big one for Iowa. 2 seconds though. Van heaves it. Little short. Oklahoma with an impressive first half. They turn Iowa over 12 times and score 38 points. They have not been to the Sweet 16 in more than a decade. Good first half. They're trying to get there with 20 left in this one. Let's go to the studio now. Here's Kelsey. Back in Norman, Oklahoma. Trip to the Sweet 16 is up for grabs. And the host, 3-seeded Oklahoma Sooners, one of the best teams in the nation all season. They have the double-digit advantage over the 6 seed Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome back to Lloyd Noble Center. Glad you're with us. That's Kim Adams, Kevin Fitzgerald with you. So after a little sluggish first few minutes for the Sooners, it was all Boomer Sooner the rest of the way. They led by double digits for much of that first. Where was their greatest advantage?
Well, Oklahoma hasn't necessarily shot the ball as well as they would have liked. They're just 2 of 17 from 3, but I think what stood out to me is their grittiness. They have controlled the areas of the game that are about hustle and toughness. They are plus 10 on the glass. They are up 26 to 8 points in the paint, and they've only gotten 4 points from those 2 because Reagan Beers and Skylar Fan both had 2 fouls, but Sahara Williams, the sophomore, has been sensational. She's leading them with 13 points, 7 rebounds. She has 3 assists. And then while Big Sis has been on the bench, Little Sis, Zaya Van, the freshman, already up to 9 points. She's really been pushing the pace, been aggressive getting to the spots. And like we said, Oklahoma has really controlled many aspects of this game.
It's a miss on that end of the floor for Iowa. First half numbers. That was, by the way, how Oklahoma could be moving on to the Sweet 16. Brought to you by United Airlines. Sahara Williams chucks it up. Williams had that fine first half, as you pointed out. 13 first half points, past her season average. And so where does Iowa go now as it played from behind? In the first half, Kim, if it wants to get back to the Sweet 16.
They need to get more people involved offensively. Lucy Olson has carried a big load. She's up to 15 points, but Hannah Stolke has just 4 points. Taylor McCabe and Sydney Falter have yet to score. These are all complementary pieces to Lucy Olson, who have been really solid and consistent all season long. And Iowa needs to get some better ball movement going. They need to take care of the ball. 12 turnovers for them in the first half, very atypical.
A couple of those players starters. Here's one of them, Sydney Falter on the attack, throws it up, and Reagan Beers back on the floor, controls it for OU. That foul was on Raina Scott previously. She has it here, and now they're going to work it around. Olsen knocked it loose. Oklahoma, they can recover that. No, it's a backcourt violation. I thought that one was deflected by Olsen, so they must be saying that was just touched by Williams the whole way.
I thought it was as well. I mean, okay, Lucy Olson deflected it. Williams picked it up in the front court and then went back into the back court.
Yeah, that was it right there. They're saying that Williams reestablished possession with that 1 foot in the front court. OU by 11. 4th ever meeting between these 2 schools. They last played 20 years ago. Stolke, that's an impressive reverse. Reagan Beers goes down. And I just saw Jenna Cross, our lead official, swirl the right finger. They're going to go to the monitor to see if there was anything excessive here. Beers obviously got clocked in the face. She's clutching her face right now. That is the All-American for Oklahoma.
She went down quickly, so that had to have been a tough hit.
There's her head coach, Jenny Baranczyk, who brought her here for this splendid season, walking her back to the huddle now. An early timeout in the 3rd in Norman. Second round in Norman, Oklahoma by 9. There is the All-American Reagan Beers, who just got clocked in the face at the end of an offensive possession for Iowa. She's a little dazed on the bench right now. This is what happened. Hannah Stolke on the baseline for Iowa, scores the layup, but then the left elbow, I mean, it gets Beers right in her face right there. And we just heard from our lead official, that's Jenna Cross, who's officiated the last handful of Final Fours. They did upgrade that to an intentional foul on Hannah Stolke. And so 2 free throws for the Sooners.
So part of the criteria there could be unnecessary or excessive swinging. And I do think we saw a little bit of an excessive swing back there from Stolke. And as we just saw there, Reagan Beers is still on the bench, looking to be in quite amount of pain. So now Oklahoma will shoot these 2 free throws, and then they'll get possession back. So it could be a 4 or 5 point swing.
Yeah, clearly in some discomfort, a little dazed there. Verhulst, the 85% free throw shooter, converts both. Kim, I think this is justified. This seems fair, like
right
you said,
there,
a little
look.
excessive swinging.
Yeah, like did she have to bring that arm back into the face? That looked a little unnatural.
You know, and two things can be true. I mean, it could be incidental and just a little excessive at the same time. So Beers is headed back to the locker room right now. Skylar Van connects, and the veteran back on the floor. It's got Oklahoma with its largest advantage. Foul on the inside. That's going to be the second on Liz Scott. OU has had a timely basket whenever it needed it.
Yeah, this triple from Skylar Van really sums up how it's gone all afternoon for Oklahoma. When someone's gone to the bench with foul trouble, it's been next woman up. And Skylar Van was one of those saddled with foul trouble, and she hits that three early in the second half.
Olsen, step back triple, puts it in. Lucy Olsen, a 2,000-point scorer in her 4-year career, has 18. Liz Scott, buckets.
The amount of offensive weapons on this Oklahoma team is really a spectacle. We didn't see it in the first round. It was all Skylar Van and Beers, but today they're getting really incredibly balanced scoring.
That's a shot a Falter makes regularly. Could not stick it that time. Oklahoma has just had a response every time. Verhulst with the latest. Timeout, Iowa. There's the Spokane 4 regional. Winner of this Iowa-Oklahoma game advances to face either South Dakota State or UConn. That's on Saturday at ESPN. The Sweet 16 spot is on the line. Our portion of the bracket, Kansas State, outlasting Kentucky, surviving a one last Georgia Amore look at the Horn to advance the next weekend. And look what's coming up. A prolific battle between Tanaya Watson, Flau'jae Johnson coming up after this one. That's Florida State and LSU. And then you've got Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins, UConn, and Southern Cal to close out round 2. Liz Scott rolling to the basket, could not finish at the rim. So Iowa just scored one. It's a 15-point game. First look of the day for the very prolific three-point shooter Taylor McCabe. There's a whistle. That's a foul on Iowa. And it's the second on a Falter. Oklahoma has had all the firepower offensively in this game. Hawkeyes playing from behind since maybe the midway mark of the first quarter.
And Iowa still looking for some help for Lucy Olsen, who has more than half their points.
Verhulst, look out. Olsen has 18. She is the only Hawkeye in double figures. Next leading scorer is Stolke, who's got 8. Stolke going back to work. She's got 10.
And I think they have to continue to feed it into a blown opportunity for Oklahoma. I was just going to say with Reagan Beers out, but she's coming back in the game right now. And look at just selling this backdoor cut. Feuerbach was overplaying her. Feuerbach turned her head a little bit to look at the ball, and Verhulst just sells the cut, and Reagan Beers back on the floor after taking a tough hit to the face. You could see those two were kind of mutual respect there.
Good sportsmanship. Yeah, Stolke checking on her. It was the left elbow that hit Beers in the face. Beers denies Stolke this time.
And there's the difference on back-to-back possessions. It was a much smaller player on Stolke the previous possession. This time it's Beers at 6'4".
Lob it into the post force. Van was looking for her. Good defense that time from Stolke. So a rare late shot clock sequence here for OU. Verhulst, dribble drive, Verhulst, wild layup. Beers, I don't think she beat the buzzer, so that's a shot clock violation. Ball back to the Hawkeyes. And so can the Hawkeyes do that? Can they get a couple of stops, string them together? Because that has been problematic.
Yeah, and I think they're their most dangerous, I think, when they're playing in transition. It's not something they've been able to get into really since the opening minutes of the game. So that starts with getting stops and rebounds, being more disruptive. Remember early in this game, they forced a couple of quick turnovers against a turnover-prone Oklahoma team.
Olsen, difficult, contested fall away, knocked that loose. Oklahoma, though, recovers. It was a 10-4 advantage a few minutes into the game. And then OU went on a 16-1 run to take a double-digit lead after one quarter. And they have not looked back since. That is the third foul now. The only productive offensive player for Iowa today, that's Olsen, maybe outside of Stolke. Feuerbach is going to take a seat, by the way. And you're okay with that, wouldn't you be? Olsen, you keep her out there?
Yeah, Jan Jensen is leaving her out, but this happened the other day where she did leave Lucy Olsen out, and Lucy Olsen picked up an offensive foul as her fourth, but I'm sure she's learned from that. She's a veteran. She's got to be careful, though. So a lot of time left. Yeah,
that was the win against Murray State Saturday, the game that they were ahead for the majority of. Guyton can't hit it. Iowa has hit 6 times from distance. They just haven't gotten as many looks as maybe they normally take. Turnovers have been problematic. Oklahoma getting just about anything it wants on this side. Deep post catch, Beers put it up. Van, the follow, draws the foul. The 5th-year senior from an hour up the road, Edmond, Oklahoma, back at the free throw line.
And Oklahoma just continues to dominate the offensive glass. That is the 15th offensive rebounds for the Sooners.
They have been a really strong offensive rebounding team all season long. Another 25-win season for the Sooners. Olsen will sit down now. Less than 5 to go in the third. This deficit is growing for the Hawkeyes. Skylar Van, the most experienced Sooner on the roster. This is now 156 career games played. What a career it's been. One of that has been very inspiring. Role player to 6th player of the year in the Big 12. Remember, she was the most valuable player in the Big 12 last season before OU joins the SEC. And so this 17-point hole, the largest for Iowa. Guyton, foot on the gas, was trying to kick it back out. Beers knocks it loose. Read that one nicely. Possession arrow favors the Sooners.
You can just tell there's a little bit of a tightness, a pressure that Iowa's playing with right now, and that is a freshman point guard just getting too deep into the paint, leaving the feet. That's what Lucy Olsen does well when she's in the game. She comes to a jump stop. That time the freshman going 1 foot in the air, nowhere to go with it. Into the trees of Reagan Beers at 6'4", just waiting for that ball.
Van launches. Van connects again.
They've had an answer for everything today. Iowa had just briefly switched back into a zone, and Skylar Van says, no problem. I'm going to drain this triple.
Too much firepower. Hayden tied up. Hayden shuffled the feet. That's another turnover. They're overwhelming the Hawkeyes right now.
This is an unselfish Oklahoma team. Anytime there's been a zone look, they've gone inside out. I mean, that's just a simple pass. Not enough of a closeout there from Hannah Stolke. Skylar Van gets her first triple of the game, and we talked about at halftime. Oklahoma was just 2 of 17. They've opened this half 4 of 6.
Little sister Zaya Van was on the baseline, so ball back to the Hawkeyes. Remember, on the men's side, coverage of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship continues on CBS, TBS, and True TV. Go to ncaa.com for more information. The Sweet 16, of course, is set on the men's side. We will do so here in the women's tournament at the end of today's action. Hayden with the 15-footer. She's back into double figures once again. And there's a foul on the floor.
Iowa, number 5, Eva Hayden, first personal. team foul number 5.
Oklahoma defensively has played great team basketball. Look at the uneven assist to turnover rate today for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, Iowa just looked like a well-oiled machine on Saturday. I thought they really got out in transition to get some easy looks. That's not been the case here today. They've been turning it over a ton, and they're being held to just 35% from the field.
Again, Olsen back on the floor. The question we've been asking is, where's that offense going to come from outside of number 33 in the black? Puts that one up. Got a hand on it. Beers, though, controls it.
Sahara Williams is going to make sure it didn't come from Olsen on that one. Another block for the sophomore.
Look how quickly that developed. Beautiful transition offense for the Sooners. Sahara Williams a little hobbled, by the way, for OU. She's asking for a timeout. So after the turnover and the Oklahoma steal, Williams stretching out her leg here, and so
just great cross-court passing, playing with pace, sister-to-sister connection. This is their first year playing together. They never got to play together in high school, and this is a tough scene because Sahara Williams has had such a tremendous game. I saw she went down awkwardly after she had blocked the shot on Olsen a couple of possessions ago, but she's been the spark plug for them.
Getting the knee checked out right now. Iowa has not been able to slow Oklahoma down. Collision in the paint, and they call a foul on Beers. Hayden went tumbling. That's another one, the third on Reagan Beers. Williams at least has a bit of a smile on her face there. Iowa just overwhelmed here. Van took it away, and then Hayden knocks it loose. So here's Feuerbach, puts up the three, buries it. That's her third of the afternoon.
And that's what Iowa needs to get back to. We saw that a couple times early in the game where they got into the paint, they kicked out, they had that ball swinging around. It can't be one-on-one right now.
Stays here with 2:06 to go in the third. So what happened here for Williams? You pointed out right there, she just lands awkwardly after the block attempt.
Yeah, she landed and then I think realized something didn't feel right. She's still getting attended to on the bench by multiple athletic trainers.
Keys left that short. Beers tracks it down, and a new 20 for the Sooners. So what's that now? That is 17 offensive rebounds, way above their season average. That's an elite rate. Hayden and Beers, well, they've been grappling underneath, by the way, these last couple of possessions. That is going to be the second foul on the rookie Hayden. So it'll keep it here. But Kim, this second round battle has busted open here in this third quarter. Oklahoma has outscored the Hawkeyes by 7. They stretched this to an 18-point advantage, led by 21 a couple of moments ago.
And this is similar to what we saw from Oklahoma in the first round. A tough Florida Gulf Coast team was battling with them, and then in the blink of an eye, Oklahoma went on a huge run. They outscored them 26-10 in the fourth quarter. This is a team that can just light it up offensively in the blink of an eye because of the pace of play at which they play.
They've got a lot of firepower. You know, it's not just Beers underneath. They've got capable three-point shooters. You've got a really trusted veteran senior playmaking guard. Great depth. Jenny Baranczyk, you just saw, the former Hawkeye star player. And she'll play 11. Not afraid to do that. After the McCabe miss, Oklahoma back the other way. 90 seconds to go in the third quarter.
And even just throughout the course of this game, you can see how Oklahoma is able to position themselves to win in different ways. When their star players went to the bench with foul trouble, they still were able to go on huge runs because they have so many different offensive weapons and some of the best depth in the country.
They have really put it all together this season. Skylar Van has come alive in this NCAA tournament. Collision underneath. Stolke goes tumbling. Lexi Keys picks it up. Keys into the front court. Jan Jansen, by the way, is red hot. They thought that they missed something. They must have. Yeah, they teed up Jansen.
Yeah, there's
Jensen just got teed up there. That's going to be the stoppage in play with 1:04. And it was Jenna Cross who issued the technical. Jensen was red hot. That there was no whistle here.
I think she lost control of the ball, went out of bounds before anything happened. But yeah, Jan's livid, and then an assistant coach was out on the floor. Gina Cross, a veteran official, just walked away from the bench after calling the tee, and they're talking to a different official.
Oklahoma has fallen very quickly into a 23-point hole. Beers underneath, scoring again.
Kevin,
how do you stop that?
I was going to say, this is an offense that just wears you down. And unfortunately for Iowa, there's still a quarter to go here. But Oklahoma just has answer after answer. They can hurt you from anywhere on the floor. Reagan Beers does her work early. She walks Hannah Stolke up the lane a little bit to get that low position that allows her teammates to just feed it up to her outstretched hand.
I think our officials have the clock right now. We got 49.8 left in the third. Kim, this is a 10-0 Oklahoma run. And here they come. Boomer Sooner on the move. Zaya Van fouled.
And we said this in the last game. Not a lot of teams in women's basketball go 2 for 1. Oklahoma, certainly a team that's aware of that timing. Zaya Van has been tremendous pushing pace, and right there she draws the 4th foul on Iowa star Lucy Olson.
She's got to take a seat. Oklahoma outscoring Iowa 28-14 in this third quarter. Make it 29. Zaya Van, the freshman, who is the top-rated player in the state, decides to come to Oklahoma. Gets 1 year with her big sister Skylar. There she is, number 24 on the left side of the lane. And this has been an avalanche this quarter. It really has been. It was an 11-point game at the break. And Oklahoma has just busted it open. Feuerbach finishes at the rim.
Avalanche is great imagery to describe this team because it just keeps coming at you, inside, out. Iowa gets a little bit of an answer there. Can they get a stop here to get some momentum heading to the 4th?
That's going to be a foul. Oh, they're going to call the cylinder foul on Feuerbach that time. So Verhulst is going to the line. They're going to say that Feuerbach just invaded the space first. There was a little push off here as well.
I don't know about that one. This might give us a better look at it. She does get into her space, but then Verhulst extended the arm.
Yeah, I was expecting the offensive foul call coming there. You get the 85% free throw shooter now at the line. And so that is a ticky-tack one on Van. So an eye for an eye. The problem is Iowa needs a whole lot of that, by the way, if it wants some sort of miraculous comeback here in the 4th quarter. These Hawkeyes, they were on the mountaintop of the sport for years. Caitlin Clark, generational talent, best player in the sport. Went to back-to-back national championship games. And this 23-win season very much in jeopardy. They are in danger zone right now, if not for some massive comeback. That is a 30-point third quarter for the Sooners. Oklahoma, a well-oiled machine, 10 minutes away from going to the Sweet 16. Let's check out today's game track brought to you by Invesco QQQ. All Oklahoma in that third quarter. And then overall, Kim, you have bemoaned the point. What they do on the glass. Plus 58 rebound margin in these two games.
Yeah, they're a plus 21 right now. And you see the three-point shooting has picked up for them in the second half. And they have 5 players in double-digit scoring already on the Iowa side. Lucy Olson with 18, Hannah Stolke with 10.
Olson playing with the 4 fouls, misfires from distance. Iowa has been playing from behind since the halfway mark in the first quarter. Raina Scott rattles out, and Beers went after it. Ball back to Iowa. Oklahoma has just slowly and steadily stretched its lead, but they did it in pretty emphatic fashion in that third quarter, outscoring Iowa 30-16. They've won every quarter. They've essentially won every statistical battle today, outside of maybe made 3-pointers. Iowa's got 1 more, but that's really it. This has been a complete performance, and Verhulst, that's a quick cut. This is a much different looking Oklahoma offense than what we saw against the Eagles on Saturday.
Yeah, it just looks rhythmic. They did have a large number of assists the other day, but it just looks a lot crisper today.
The 3 seed in the Spokane 4 regional. It has not broken through to the Sweet 16 in more than a decade. And they're in position right now. Beers, that is the All-American with a vicious rejection. She wants it, she's calling for it, can't score it. Iowa has it in their largest hole of the evening. It's a 27-point deficit. And Olson shuffled the feet. Has there been, take a look at this, by the way. This is Beers with another rejection.
This is just elite rim protection, because your teammates get beat and then you trust that you have somebody waiting there to protect you. Reagan Beers just perfectly positioning herself, not getting in the way to to get a foul called against her. Swipes in with that left hand.
The missing piece, huh, to the success this year?
Pretty big piece. This is a team that returned 98% of its scoring from last year's Big 12 regular season champion team, and now they add number 52 in white.
Fierbach connects. So it was Beers was the All-American last year at Oregon State. Remember when they made that run to the Elite 8? Everybody left, though, including Beers. Raina Scott all the way to the basket. And so for Beers, it came down really realistically to a couple of schools. Mighty UConn and Oklahoma. And she comes here on the visit. A lot of her teammates have talked about this candidly this season. They really made her feel at home. That pass is a little too far for Liz Scott. Verhulst with a little razzle-dazzle that time. Would
was like at the bowling alley trying to get that hook.
O'Grady. This has been, you know, if Saturday felt like a spare, I mean, this is going to be a strike for Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma had to work for that spare against the 14 seed, and they have been much sharper, much tighter. You know, the rest of this bracket, you got the 1 seed, Juju Watkins and the Trojans, UConn the 2 seed, and then this Oklahoma team. Maybe they're overlooked, maybe not, maybe they are.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a while to go in this game. Iowa's had some answers, but I'd say what Oklahoma has shown offensively so far is statement-making stuff of just how dangerous of a team they can be in this field.
Wow, that's an easy rebound. No one going for it on the Iowa side. Verhulst. Oh, it bounces through. Another one.
That's been all afternoon. These Oklahoma players just wanting the rebounds more. Skylar Vann setting up a three for Verhulst. 20 offensive rebounds.
Olsen going to the free throw line.
Sooners foul number 2, Rena Scott.
That was a look what I found moment for Skylar Vann.
Number 15, Lexi Keys.
Jenny Baranczyk. She's got a lot of veterans, and the one-time Iowa Hawkeye. Remember the all-conference career in the early 2000s for Baranczyk. For the first time as the OU head coach, she plays her alma mater. And they have the significant advantage. Really close ties between Baranczyk and Jensen on the other side. Remember, Jensen was the lead assistant for Lisa Bluter for 2.5 decades. Baranczyk said yesterday, I still remember the voice messages, the voicemails that Jensen would leave on our home answering machine trying to recruit me. So a unique matchup and day perhaps for her. But her team has got the advantage here, and they are a little more than 6 minutes away from busting through to the Sweet 16. Been a little while for this prominent program that went to many Final Fours in the 2000s.
Yeah, Coach Baranczyk has not been able to get her group past this round yet in her first 3 years.
Look at the ball movement, by the way. Vann dials it up, knocks it in. It's Oklahoma's 8th triple, 7 of them in this half.
I have to go back to the point that in the 4 games leading into the NCAA tournament, Skylar Vann had a combined 16 points, 4 points per game. She had 24 in the first game. She's up to 17 here in second round action, and it's just been unselfish. It's been extra passes, inside out. Verhulst almost sets a little screen there without even intending to do so. Skylar Vann, Coach Baranczyk told us yesterday, there was about a month in the season where Vann had really lost her confidence. She wouldn't even look to shoot it. Baranczyk said it was almost that way as recently as the SEC tournament. Wow, has she found that confidence and spark again.
You could tell there's just a little different vibe going on. Beers is going back to the free throw line, gets fouled. So Beers might have a bloody nose here. But she's gotten bruised and battered underneath today. Had to come out earlier in the game when she got hit in the face by a Hannah Stolke elbow. And so they got to patch her back up because she's going to be at the free throw line when we return. Oklahoma 5-14 away from the Sweet 16. All smiles at Norman. Capital One rewarding performance. It's Vann ×2.
Woo, yeah, we have a sister act today. That was the freshman Zaya on the swipe to spin. She's had tough take after tough take. The sisters have combined for 27 points. That is the older sister, Skylar, who's knocked down 3 triples. They've really done a little bit of everything. They've combined for 7 assists, 4 steals. Skylar Vann has 6 rebounds. What a cool moment for those two to be playing in their first and only NCAA tournament together.
Their father, Bryant, he was a star for the men's team way back in the day. They followed Dad's footsteps. And they are having, yeah, there's Bryant Vann.
Looks like Zaya on the take.
And so we're going to have a tie-up here. 5:07 to go, 4th quarter. let's not overlook the prominent basketball history, men's and women's side for this Oklahoma program. 3 Final Fours for the women's program, several Final Fours for the men's program, and a couple of them very recently. We always start to talk about it this time. There's work to be done, but Oklahoma, it has not been to the Final Four in 15 years. That's the last time they broke through in 2010. Courtney Paris, of course, was on that 09 team. Oklahoma is certainly aware of who else is in this bracket and who is ahead of it. O'Grady fouls Beers, so Beers will go to the line. Do they have what it takes? Do they have the horsepower to do it, perhaps?
Well, I think you have to think about just how they're probably in the toughest region, because UConn is the 2 seed. If UConn wins tonight, Oklahoma advances. That would be their next meeting. But I do think they are maybe the most complete offensive team, complete roster, deepest roster in their region. I think they're more well-rounded than USC, who's the 1 seed. UConn has a lot more depth this season. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see who advances out of this region, but there are certainly some coaches that are going to have their hands full if this Sooners team goes on to advance here.
Verhulst deep down the field, and was a little offline that time, looking for Beers. Sahara Williams, Liz Scott coming back in, and so Zaya Van and Peyton Verhulst and Reagan Beers. They're going to get some ovations here. It's been a good showing from this Sooner crowd.
And just one more point on the potential matchup that could be ahead, which could be UConn, Oklahoma. That we're not overlooking a tough South Dakota State team tonight who's already pulled an upset, but UConn doesn't have a post presence like Reagan Beers. That's why they wanted to get her. It came down to Oklahoma and UConn. She's a difference maker in that matchup. Sarah Strong is phenomenal, but she's 6'2", more of a 3-4 player. UConn doesn't have a center like Beers.
And is that going to be the matchup in our next round? UConn, they'll tip off later tonight, 8 Eastern. And then Southern Cal, of course, the 1 seed, as you mentioned, in this regional at 10 Eastern. So we've still got a lot of action rest of the day. Remember, Florida State LSU will follow us when we are done here in Norman. Keys can't hit it. It was an odd couple of years for this program, Kim, after so many prominent, excellent seasons. Sherry Coles, of course, former head coach, longtime head coach. A couple of seasons where they missed the tournament, Oklahoma did. Cole retires, and in comes Jenny Baranczyk, and she has reinvigorated the program. 4 consecutive 20-win seasons, a couple of Big 12 titles before joining the SEC this year. They finished 4th in the league in that rugged SEC. They have thrived. And now we're going to see some emotional moments, you would think. Landry Allen comes in, on that Iowa side. Here's the embrace, Skylar Van. The ups and downs of this season for the heart and soul of the program. On the Iowa side, you got a player like Addison O'Grady, a senior. Exchanged a hug. Count that basket.
Yeah, it's Sydney Falter. Sydney Falter's the one who just checked out there, who has really meant everything to this program. A huge piece in their 2 back-to-back national championship. There she is. So you could see just how meaningful and how emotional this moment is for her. She has had a tremendous career.
Senior from Chicago. Oh, Jones throws it in. It's Aubrey Jones. The longtime Sooner gets a bucket here in the round of 32. But yeah, Kim, this is where we know this tournament is where the dreams are made. But there could be some heartbreak. And the years have been good for Iowa in the Caitlin Clark era. Now, Falter, as you mentioned, a big-time piece, but there are several seniors. Olsen, Feuerbach, O'Grady, and presumably their careers would be coming to a close here. Final minutes of this fourth quarter. Here's Olsen going to get the exchange with her head coach.
Yeah, Lucy Olsen, I mean, she came here for one season from Villanova. You see on her face, you see on the fans giving her a round of applause here on the road, just the impact she has made in just her one season as a Hawkeye. And she's gonna hear her name called in the WNBA draft here in just a couple weeks.
Kaya Smith. That is the 10th Oklahoma triple. McCabe answers. Yeah, what a big-time get Olsen was. Prolific scorer at Villanova. Came here to try to replace all that lost production.
More than 2,000 career points, 500 rebounds, 500 assists. She just got, I covered her from her first year at Villanova, and she got better and better each year, and she's turned herself into a pro.
Stolke takes a seat. Again, the Iowa program, it was on the mountaintop of the sport for several years. Lisa Bluter retires. Caitlin Clark moves on. And so what was to come this season? Jensen took over. They got Olsen. They got all those great freshmen. So the future perhaps is bright once again for the Hawkeyes. Successful 20-plus win season in that revamped Big Ten. But that season is going to come to a close here. The Hawkeye fans, they showed up in Norman.
Oh, and that's Lucy's mom, Kelly. Oh, that's an emotional moment. That makes me want to tear up. Oh.
The reality setting in for one of the best players in the Big Ten. It was a strange game for Iowa. They were up very quickly and early, but then fell behind by 9 after the first quarter, double figures at halftime. They got roughed up there in the third quarter. But now you start to look at it from the Oklahoma perspective. An eye-opening performance where they are on the verge here of perhaps triple digits. The 4th highest scoring offense in the country. It's got 93 and counting. 5 different players. We talked about the quality depth. 5 different players in double figures, led by their heart and soul, Skylar Vann, who's leading the way with 17.
And as good as their offense has been in this tournament, I think today the defense really stood out. After Iowa jumped out to that quick lead, there was a timeout, and then you could tell that they really tightened up the bootstraps. I got to say that we're out here in Oklahoma, but they held this Iowa team to just 35% shooting and enforced 20 turnovers. That is atypical for this Hawkeyes team that has some really talented guards.
And again, they will await the winner of the matchup later tonight. Stremlo knocks that one away. They're going to await the winner of that South Dakota State UConn game. UConn a heavy favorite. And wouldn't that be quite the interesting matchup, as you pointed out? Reagan Beers choosing Oklahoma over UConn. If the Huskies advance, they would meet in the Sweet 16. Just too much firepower for Oklahoma today. Couple of seconds here. Oh, another triple. That is 11. 96 and a statement for the Sooners in the round of 32.
9 threes in the second half. Just 2 for 17 in the first half.
All those first weekend exits the last decade or so, and this prominent program that has been to the Final Four many times before, it is going back to the Sweet 16 for the first time in 12 years. An emphatic 96-62 KO of Iowa, and it advances.
Jenny Baranczyk in her 4th season, the first 3 NCAA tournaments, they had not been able to get past this round, and now they do in a resounding way. I do just want to give a quick show of appreciation and applause to Jan Jensen in her 1st season as head coach at Iowa. Really did a tremendous job with how much pressure there was on this program.
So that does it for us in Norman. OU with a statement.